Hello, it's Sonia here with the Pretty Stitch. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time joining me, I'm so happy to have you here. So today is Wednesday, and that means it's the stitch of the week. So for today's stitch, I am going to be using my K hook, or 6.5mm hook, so a little bit larger hook. But with this stitch pattern, you could use a variety of hook sizes and yarn types. I will be using number 4 or worsted weight yarn. And this is going to be a cluster stitch pattern, and we are going to be creating bubbles. They're going to look like big bubbles or popcorns. And this stitch does use up a little bit of yarn, so they tend to be called yarn eaters. So if you have a lot of yarn of a certain type of yarn, you have a lot and you want to use it up, this would be a great stitch for that. And you could use this stitch pattern for a variety of projects like hats, blankets, scarves, whatever you could think of. Alright, so to get started for this stitch pattern, you are going to need to chain a multiple of 3 plus 2. So let's chain 14 because 3 times 4 is 12, and then you add 2, it's 14. Okay, so we've got 14 chains here. So our first row is going to be our setup row, and you are going to just single crochet in the second chain from your hook and just single crochet all the way across. So we will have a total of 13. Oops, yep. Yeah, we will. Little false start there. So we will have a total of 13 single crochet for row 1. And you can work in your chain however you would like. Oh, brother. Keep your chain, or keep your loop on your hook so that you can actually work in your chain. That's always a good idea. Okay, so there we go. We have row 1. So let's get ready for row 2. Row 2 is going to be your right side. So you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. And now we are going to work a single crochet right in that first single crochet. And then our next stitch, we are going to work our bubble or popcorn. So you're going to yarn over. You're going to insert your hook right in that next stitch. Pull up a loop. So we have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2. So we are going to yarn over again, go right back in that stitch, pull up a loop. We've got 4 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2. So now we have 3. We want to continue that step until we have a total of 6 loops on our hook. So I'm going to yarn over, go right back in, pull up my loop. I've got 5. Pull through the 2, now I have 4. So I'm just going to keep going. 5 loops, and so my final yarn over, pulling up a loop. So now I yarn over again and pull through 2. So now we should have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what you want to do is yarn over and then pull through all 6 of those loops. And that's going to create your nice big bubble. So to finish off this stitch, you're just going to chain 1, and now she's complete. So what we want to do is work a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So you might need to just kind of push that guy to the side and get your hook into that next stitch and work your single crochet, and that's really going to help it to bubble out there. So there we go. We're going to work another single crochet. So now we're going to go into the next stitch, and we're just going to repeat this step again to create the bubble. So yarn over, insert your hook in the next stitch, pull up a loop. So we've got the 3, yarn over, pull through 2. So now we have 2, yarn over again, right back in that stitch. We have our 4 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. So now we have 3, yarn over, right back in, pulling up our loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So we've got the 4, yarn over, right back in, yarn over, pull through 2. So we have 5. So yarn over, right back in. It gets a little crowded, so it's okay. yarn over, pull through 2. So now we have our 6 loops. So we do a yarn over, pull through all 6 of those guys, and then chain 1 to finish up the stitch. And I'm going to work a single crochet in my next 2 stitches, and we will make our bubble again. So I'm going to go make my bubble in my next stitch. So I have my 6 loops on my hook. It's basically like making a double crochet, but just not quite finishing off the stitch. You just keep adding to it and adding to it until you have your 6 loops on your hook. So there we go, we've got 6 loops, yarn over, pull through all 6. And that's why I call it a yarn eater. That takes up quite a bit of yarn to create those bubbles. But that's okay. Alright, we're going to single crochet in the next 2, single crochet. And I did chain 1 to finish off my bubble there. So I'm gonna, yep, come on, this hook doesn't want to stay in this yarn. So now we are going to work our remaining bubble there. So I've got my 6 loops pulling through, and then I'll do a chain 1 to complete that bubble. So now I'm at my last 2 single crochet, and we're just going to single crochet in the last 2. So row 2 then will be complete. And again, this will be, so all your even rows will be your right side. So there we go, we have 4 bubbles. So for row 3, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to single crochet across. So what you want to remember when you're working your odd rows, which will just be your single crochet rows, it'll look like you have an extra stitch. So let me get started and then I can explain a little further. So this stitch, you want to remember that also what you started with. So we started with 13 stitches. So for this row, you want to crochet 13 stitches if that's what you have in your swatch. Alright, so I'm going to single crochet right in that same stitch, single crochet in the next stitch. So when we look at our bubble here, if you're looking at the tops of the stitches, it looks like 2 stitches. This right here is your chain 1. You don't want to work in there. You're just going to skip over that. You're going to work in this one. So if you turn your work towards you like this, you're looking at the top, it makes it a little easier to figure out where to work. So you're not going to work in there, you're going to work in this one, this big V right here. So I am going to insert my chain, or why do I keep saying that? Insert my hook underneath this stitch, and it's not even a chain, it's a stitch right there. And I'm going to work my single crochet. So that's my stitch 3. So now I have 2 single crochet, stitch 4, and then my next single crochet, stitch 5. So now we're back to our bubble. So you can see there is our chain 1, and then there is part of the stitch. So you're going to work in that. So the chain 1 is a smaller V. The top of the bubble stitch is a larger V. So you want to work in the larger V. Okay, this hook doesn't want to stay in this yarn. It's going to be a fun time. Alright, so we're going to keep going. So I'm working 2 more single crochet. And I'm skipping that chain 1 and working my single crochet in the next one, and I'm going to keep going all the way across, and then I should have my 13 stitches. Because you don't want to add stitches, you could easily add stitches because you would think, oh, I could just work in there, and then you're going to have a bunch of extra stitches, and then when you go to your next row, you're going to be completely off and wondering what on earth happened. So you just need to remember what you started with. So we started with 13. I'll do a quick check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We are good to go. Alright, so let's start row 4. We're going to chain 1, turn our work. So row 4 will be similar to row 2. So we are going to chain 1, turn. We're going to single crochet in the first 2 stitches. So there's 1, and there's 2. Next we are going to work our bubble stitch in the next stitch. So just like we did before, our yarn overs until you have your 6 loops on your hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need one more to have my 6. So there we go. We've got 6. I'm going to yarn over, pull through all 6 of those guys, and work my chain 1. And now I'm going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And work my bubble in the next stitch. So this stitch is lots and lots of yarn overs, but it's pretty simple. So we have 6, chain 1 to finish her off, and single crochet in the next 2. And work our bubble in the next. Stitches there, yep, 6, and chain 1 to finish her off. So working single crochet in the next 2. So we're at our last 2 stitches. So when you get to your last 2 stitches, we're going to work one more bubble and then single crochet in the last stitch. So for row 2, what we did was we had a bubble and then we single crocheted in the last 2. So for row 4, it's almost the same as row 2, except you're going to work 1 instead of 2 single crochet to finish up. You're working 1. So let's create this last bubble here. Well, that's not fun. See if I can fix it. Yes, I don't have to start the whole stitch over again. So you might want to be careful when pulling through all 6 of those loops that you don't do when I did. Alright, so now I'm going to work my single crochet in my last stitch. So now we have row 2, and again we have 4 bubbles. They're just staggered a little bit differently. So now for row 5, we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and we're going to repeat row 3. You're going to single crochet across, and again I want to have 13 stitches, so I'm going to single crochet in that first single crochet. So I chained 1 and turn, single crochet and first single crochet. So here is the chain 1. You do not want to work in there. You will work in the next stitch, and then you'll single crochet in the next 2, skip that chain 1 space, and then work in the next. Skip that next chain 1 space, work in the next stitch there. So you just need to be a little bit mindful when you're working the wrong side row that you're not adding stitches, because it would be really simple. You'd be like, oh, I need to work a stitch in here and in here. And then you get to the end of your row, you're counting your stitches, and you're like, whoa, I have way too many stitches. So just a little, just tuck that into the back of your mind. It's all right, and then chain 1 and turn. So then what you would want to do is you would repeat rows 2 through 5 for however, long you would want your swatch. So I've chained 1, I've turned, so row 2 to get started, you single crochet in the first single crochet, and then you would work your bubble in the next stitch. And then for row 4, you single crochet in the first 2, and then you work your bubble stitch. So it's just slightly different. And you can see this guy wants to pop on the wrong side. All you need to do is just push it onto the right side. So quite an easy fix. So I'll probably work maybe 2 more rows of bubbles so that you can really see this stitch pattern, and I will meet you back. And also for this stitch pattern, I highly recommend that you end on a wrong side row, so that would just be a single crochet row to finish up your swatch. So I will meet you back. Alright, so here is my completed swatch of my bubbles. So I have worked 9 rows and I actually ended on a wrong side row, so I ended on this row, but this is the right side obviously. So again, for this stitch pattern you would repeat rows 2 through 5 to get your little bubbles here. So I think it looks really cool, and it did use up quite a bit of yarn and also using a larger hook, but it is a nice quick one and it has a lot of neat texture to it. So I hope you enjoyed this stitch of the week, and I thank you so much for watching.